Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Beyond the Summit presentation of the We Play playoffs. We're in the top 8 brackets. Today we're featuring Kaipi versus Mouse Sports. I am Luminous, and joining me alongside is none other than the illustrious Merlini himself. Merlini, are you still with me? I know we had a long pause.
Yes, sir. Here I am.
Alright, Merlini is with us. The draft is underway. Kaipi will have the second ban and second pick on the Radiant side, which is somewhat awkward or uncommon. They're going to be banning out the Nature's Prophet and Bat Rider. Meanwhile, Mouse Sports going to be banning out the Lone Druid and Wisp. Lifesteal is going to be the first pick up here. The first thing I noticed is that some of the quote-unquote top-tier heroes, such as Magnus, such as Nyx Assassin, Keeper of Light, some of the more common top picks are no longer to be seen at all. So we're going to see Kaipi picking up Magnus and Bane Elemental.
Yep, I'm very surprised that Keeper has not been taken. This is a fairly quick ban phase, I must say. Lone Druid first ban, not terribly common in the Western scene, but Lone Druid is one of the stronger heroes in the game right now, and Eastern teams value him very highly. Kaipi's been coming off a recent win streak. They took down AL 2-0 with some unusual lineups, but unfortunately they are not at their full roster right now. Garter standing in for RTZ.
RTZ being not of age yet, I guess is one way to put it. He's still in high school, so he has to fulfill his educational duty. Good man, and would not be able to play some Dota today. Hopefully, Kaipi could go far without RTZ, and maybe once we get to the weekend, which is the finals of replay, then RTZ could show up and start to clean up. But for now, they would have to make do without him. And Bane Elemental is going to be matching up against Lifestealer as a quote-unquote counter, and he is by far a very good counter. In Feeble, if you do cast it on Lifestealer, he cannot rage out of it, you cannot Manta out of it if he ever, well, he won't get a Manta, but you get what I mean. It's very hard to actually debuff it, and of course, Fiend's Grip will go through the rage, so there's a couple of good answers for that Lifestealer, but I don't think that's enough. There's RP that also go through as well. I don't think that's enough, though. You need to really shut down Lifestealer, because we've seen in the past, or very recently, for example, TC's Lifestealer just go to town once you give him the room to do so. Here's the Visage being picked up, and from what I've heard, Come With Me's Visage is very spectacular.
I'm very surprised to see them picked up third, though. Visage is one of those heroes that is situationally strong, but still almost never banned out in either of the ban phases. So if Visage is third, I expect to see some weird picks for the fourth and fifth hero. So Mouse Sports will take out the Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter is just very strong hero in general. You don't ever want to let him free farm, and he has a significant output of magical and physical damage. Pretty uncommon for a carry hero aside from Luna, but Luna has waxed in popularity as of late.
Yeah, I'm actually somewhat surprised that Gyro's being banned out, at least by Mouseport, because if, let's say, Mouseport has a Gyrocopter, those Visage bursts, they are just money bags for the grabs. With Flat Cannon, it just shuts down everything. But eventually, they will ban it out. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain is going to be the ban here for Kaipi. And I think both teams are drafting their... Well, Mouseport already have their tri-lane set up, and Kaipi most likely have the Bane Elemental and Visage as part of that tri-lane. So right now, Mouseport looking for the 2 solos, meanwhile Kaipi looking for the carry as well as the long lane.
The problem with Gyrocopter is that he does often require a lot of support. You're either forced to aggressive triple lane with him, with that team, so that Gyro can be in the safe lane as your solo farmer. We have seen teams run him as solo mid in the past, but this has definitely fallen off in popularity. I don't even recall the last time I've seen him solo mid. And we see Mouse ban out Weaver, and looks like Kaipi is just taking out some of the strong solo mids so that Magnus will have an easy time. We saw Skywrath Mage shut down Magnus pretty hard this weekend, and I would not be surprised if Mouse tried to use that as a somewhat of a Magnus soft counter.
Is it the silence that's so OP against Magnus? Blink in and silence him, suddenly he's taking a ton more magical damage, as well as not being able to cast anything? Or what is exactly so good about the matchup for Skywrath
They can
Mage?
just shut him down early game. Even with Bottle Crow, Magnus still has a very hard time staying in lane with the Skywrath Mage's level 1 Arcane Bolt spam, and that has been very potent. I've seen the Magnuses just go the Tango branch build, and it has not been enough. And just constant pressure in the Magnus, Skywrath just pretty much follows him around lane to lane, and then once he gets level 6, Magnus can do a little bit, but usually it just takes them so long. Usually Magnus has quite an easy road to level 6, having a relatively quick arcane blink, but if Skywrath can prevent him from getting that really good early start that Magnuses are so accustomed to, then they have a very hard time making impact early mid. And without that blink dagger, that silence is very devastating for team fights. If Magnuses can't pull an RP off, that's just a,
Yeah, I'm actually surprised to hear that. I imagine Magnus generally the hero that is basically immune to the laning stage. Queen of Pain, no problem. Darkseer, no problem. Any kind of very, very strong solo mid, he handles it just fine. But seems like Skywrath Mage is quote-unquote the answer. I imagine we need to see a little bit more games because Skywrath Mage just got recently introduced. But if Mouseport picks up a Skywrath Mage right here, which is not going to be the case, it's going to be a Templar Assassin. And this is a matchup, well, you play mid all the time, Merlini. Educate us a little bit about this matchup. Who has the advantage if it's pulled, or who has the advantage if it's not pulled?
Without pulling, Templar Assassin still has advantage, regardless whether Magnus is pulled or not. TA just has significant amounts of base damage. He's one of those ranged heroes that can actually outclass Magnus in the last hitting department. Magnus usually relies on his fairly high base damage. I believe it's in the 60 range, and most of the ranged intel heroes, for example, Storm, Puck, Quap, have much less than 60, sometimes around the 50 range, and they really just rely on the range presence of right click to try and... Ooh, we see a Razor pick.
Yeah.
That
So, I
just
mean...
stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah, I mean, Razor is, for those of you guys that haven't seen that hero a lot, he's another one of those heroes that has a spell that will go through BKB that you cannot do anything to dodge or debuff it, and that is the static link. Can you imagine Lifestealer, do his thing, open Moon's Rage, and start right-click, and suddenly his damage is being drained? And not just the Lifestealer, now you have another very, very good target to throw upon Templar Assassin, and the amount of synergy of this particular lineup is just through the roof. You could throw the link onto a target that's already Nightmare, and that person's damage will be drained completely. There's just a lot of cute things going on, and at the end of the day, Bane Elemental, Visage, and Razor is just a very, very potent tri-lane. And I gotta say, this is a very, very sneaky draft coming out from Eternal Envy so far.
Yeah, I like that they're thinking outside the box. Razor has been theory crafted as one of the quote-unquote hard counters to Lifestealer, but we haven't actually seen him put to particularly good use. Usually he just dies before he can do anything. Razor is a hero with very weak stat gain, and he just tends to die in team fights because he requires a significant amount of farm if he wants to stay in the middle of the fight, uses Eye of the Storm to great effect, and static link melee heroes such as Lifestealer. Lifestealer is just the bane of competitive for the past couple of months. COD PL has faced a little bit out of favor in because teams like running aggressive strategies and taking control of the game prior to 20-25 minutes when PL really starts to gain effectiveness. And Lifestealer is one of those heroes. He's one of those late game heroes that can do a lot. Rage and Open Wounds is one of the more ridiculous level 1 slows, and him being magic immune for 3 to 6 seconds just means there's a ton of uptime on the focus target, and he's just been very, very difficult to deal with. Teams really have to get a lot of solutions, as you said, Bane with the Feeble, with the Fiend's Grip, Magnus with the RP, and now Razor with the static link, and hopefully that will be enough to overcome the powerhouse that is Lifestealer.
And they're not done yet. They're going to round out the last pick here with the Anti-Mage, and I'm sure Eternal Envy will be playing that one as one of his favorite heroes. For anybody that's just joining us, this is the We Play Top 8 bracket, and this is Game 1 of a best-of-3 series between Kaipi and Mouseport. I am Luminous, and joining me alongside, as always, well, not as always, for the first time, actually, is Merlini himself. And here we go. I think because of the Anti-Mage picked up, they are definitely going offensive tri-lane, being Kaipi. And I think Mouseport, that it's very clear to them as well. What is the actual natural response here? Do you just go tri-lane versus tri-lane, or do you straight up dodge and shut down the Anti-Mage with your own offensive tri-lane?
I would just straight up dodge this. I mean, Rubik and Nyx, they're decent supports, but they don't really have that much damage. They're just annoying. Being able to throw someone away with telekinesis is very annoying, but doesn't do any damage. And Mana Burn is very annoying, but it also doesn't do any damage. So I don't think they really have that much kill potential because they have, again, a couple of ways to shut down the Lifestealer's damage with Static Link and with Enfeeble. So I don't think they're going to get that much out of their triple lane if they do decide to do try versus try. So I expect them to dodge it and just shut down his Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage could potentially pose a lot of threats for Mouse. He is not very vulnerable to Nyx ganks just because about half his damage is from the Impale and Mana Burn combo, which will not do much at all versus Spell Shield. And until Templar Assassin gets Blink or they make very good use of Nyx bombs, I expect them to I expect Anti-Mage to get a good amount of farm unless they do the triple lane.
Yeah, you talked about the blink on the Templar Assassin, which has been falling out a little bit out of favor a little bit lately. Generally, we see players going for the drums, treads into different various sort of late game items. Sometimes it's Daedalus, sometimes it's Manta. We even seen like in items such as Hex being tempered with from time to time. So we don't know exactly if it's going to be a Blink build, but Blink obviously is going to give you that Lifestealer Invest Bomb like you talked about. So we'll see exactly what build that the Templar Assassin goes for. But going back to the point that you made earlier about the Magnus Templar Assassin mid matchup, is there a single chance for Magnus to, let's say, go Empower a little bit early and try to combat in terms of base damage and try to last it a little bit easier like that? Or still the matchup is very, very geared towards Templar Assassin?
I'd say it's still very geared towards Templar Assassin. Empower does not scale well at all early. I think at level 1 is only 20%. So
Yes.
20% of 55 is only 10, 11 damage-ish.
Yeah.
And you get 20 from Templar Assassin. And Templar Assassin has range. And there's no easy way for Magnus to whack off those refraction charges. There's no Darkseer, there's no Vino, and they're not going to be... I don't expect Kaipi to roam early at all. So again, I don't think they really have any solutions for refraction, at least in the early game, and that will just make Feta really difficult to stop. And I expect, pretty fast phase or treads and bottle from Feta. And I think it's up to Feta to try and do a lot of the early to mid game work so that again, Lifesteal is going to be the main focus, and they've drafted a lineup that is very anti-Lifestealer, and a lot of the teams play differently than they would against a team like Mouz, because Mouz has a lot of their eggs in one basket with Black, and Black we see just the 4 protect 1 strategy quite often, and if Black doesn't get the farm that he needs, Mouz tends to lose more often than not. And again, this is just Mouz's general playstyle as opposed to other teams who have 3 to 4 playmakers and or people that can have high impact mid to late game.
Yeah, it's definitely not to say that Mouseboard doesn't have playmakers. They definitely do, but it's the I guess the focus or philosophy is always in Black we trust, and generally he is, often regarded as one of the best European carries, and he will get you that carry as long as he gets his early game farm as well as he gets his lane protection. But finally, looks like we have all 10 players in. We're just waiting for them to log in, and this is a good time to introduce a player here. I'll take over on the Kaipi side. Kaipi for TI4, I think the current tag is for Eternal Envy is going to be playing Anti-Mage. Paladai is going to be on Bane Elemental. Come with me, it's going to be playing the Visage. We have Bone 7 on Razor. And Carter, who is a stand-in here for RTZ, who is not here due to school, is going to be playing the Magnus. It looks like Cinder just dropped. Is this the beginning of some...
Oh, I hope not.
Long drop sessions?
And for Team Mouz, we have the Captain of Mouz, Synderen Dota, on the Nyx Assassin, Feta on the most likely solo mid Templar Assassin, Koikva as the offlane specialist on Windrunner, Black the one roll farmer, whatever you want to call it, on Lifestealer, and Pos as the support Rubik.
Yeah, so actually we've been talking about a lot in the past, or I've heard it a lot in the past, is that Lifestealer, sure, he's an okay carry, but as a one row, he cannot really be expected to carry the entire weight of the team on his shoulder, especially when there's so many actual real answers. We talked about it, the Enfeeble, the Fiend Script, the Link, the RP. There's so many ways to shut him down. I gotta say, Mouseboard gotta get some real damage done early, or pick up some really quick early game items to kind of snowball out of control, because once this goes past 25-35 minutes and they're not up by, let's say, 7 or 10k, suddenly Anti-Mage will take over, Razor will shut you down, RP is going to be up, and I think it's going to be looking very hard for Mouseboard if this game goes late.
I definitely agree with you there. Mouz doesn't have any team fight ultimates besides potentially pause stealing RP.
Yeah.
Just like there's nothing that really can turn a tide of fight. Perhaps a really nice shackle, but TA, Nyx are not really known for their team fight, especially in competitive play where there's almost always sentries or gems in team fights to prevent a Nyx initiation. So it's really going to be on Koikva for these really nice shackles, or again, a lot of early game damage, as you said, in order for Mouz to take control of this if this game extends past the 30 to 35 minute mark. Nyx is a okay carry carry, but he does synergize quite well with Templar Assassin. And you always have to keep in mind that Mouse is on Dire this game, and Templar Assassin plus any other physical damage dealer makes sneaking a Roshan pretty easy. Pretty easy. Although I don't know if they really want to fight in the Roche Pit, but usually you can get enough map control with the psionic traps and just have sufficient vision or just smoke in, and the Roshan will usually go down in the 15 to 20 minute mark, which will prove to be a huge boon to Mouse.
Yeah, we'll see if Kaipi's going to be warding that spot heavily. But let's actually go back to Kaipi side real fast. You're talking about the RP potential being a very, very strong team fight. Generally, in most other lineups involving a Magnus, you see the RP as initiation spell, and then you see a whole array of AoE spells being dumped to follow through. If you look at the Kaipi, because they are so focused on shutting down that Life Stealer, they don't really have too much AoE to follow up. They have a Mana Void as a possible AoE spell. They have some birds that will fall down from the sky for a little bit of stun, as well as Razor's Nuke. But aside from that, you're not going to see that kind of wombo combo that we're so accustomed seeing with the Magnus setup. So if Mouseport have good enough positioning, and they definitely is fully capable of doing so, they could dodge the RP, and suddenly, you know, neither team really have good team fight, and you suddenly have this kind of Benny Hill music theme going on with people chasing back and forth. And speaking of chasing, I think that favors Mouseport a little bit with continuous amount of traps, with open wounds, with shackle shots of sorts. So it's actually hard to say who straight up has a raw better team fight. Of course, it favors the team with the Magnus, but who knows? If the Magnus OP or RP rifts, anything can happen. I don't know. It's hard to actually call it, I feel.
Yeah, I feel like they would be much better suited to, let's say, a Darkseer pick. Darkseer was not one of the first 4 bans, and Visage was taken in the first phase. I believe Darkseer was taken in the second phase, but that would just make things a lot easier for the Magnus, and they would have a lot more follow-up. That wall of replica is heavily devastating in team fights, especially if there are good carries to replicate. There's not too many. Most of them have spells that they rely on for damage as opposed to innate crits or passive, which illusions benefit from. They won't get the refract from Feta or any of the rage or feast from Black. So again, wall replica would be not super useful, but it would be definitely more useful to the RP wombo combo than Visage. So it really is up to them to make good use of this Visage pick. I assume that they've worked around this line before and worked with Visage in the triple lane, and as you said, Come With Me probably has a beast Visage.
It's hard not to have a Beast Visage because that thing has a 4-second cooldown. It just nukes very, very hard. The only thing that may be a little bit annoying is if he's firing those Soul Assumption into Syndra's Spike Carapace, something that you gotta be watching out about. And of course, Nyx Assassin, in my opinion, is one of the better matchup. Or it's always confusing when you have Nyx and Nyx on the same team. I guess I'll call him Lifestealer. But one thing that when you're playing Visage against Nyx Assassin is that mana burn hurts, especially during the early game. Soul Assumption costs, I believe, 170 mana per usage, and it's a ton of mana, especially if you need to fire off 2 during a single team fight. And if you get mana burn in any kind of duration throughout that team fight, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, and it goes to 140 at level 4, but still, that's just a ton of mana for a support hero, which is the most likely role for this Visage. Speaking of damage, they do have Empower AM. That is never to be underestimated. Eternal Envy usually does find the farm when he needs it, and if they put a lot of pressure on him, I probably expect Kaipi to try and switch lanes so that Anti-Mage can get the farm up that he needs in order to just be a beast with Empower, and that just makes his flash farming that much easier. Usually you can get like maybe a 13-15 minute Battle Fury, and then once you get that with Empower, his farming is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, even if you shut him down, he could just go in the jungle with Empower, and perhaps they try and go boots and slowly catch up there. So I feel like the Radiant, I don't think they're out of it, even if they get shut down early on. And for anybody that's joining us, this is game 1 between Kaipi and Mouseport for the replay top 8 brackets. Unfortunately, it seems like Syndra's having a little bit of connectivity issues, which he had a couple days back, according to Merlini. So we might hear for a while. The last time we had a little bit of connectivity issues, we were reading Harry Potter, and that seemed to be the fan favorite for any BTS stream. If this pause does get a little bit longer, maybe we'll do some fun activities on the side. But hopefully, Syndra can get back very, very quickly.
Yep. There aren't too many teams that use Visage. I think Liquid uses them fairly often, with Fluff playing him. I've also seen Dignitas use them a couple of times with Way2 playing Visage, but again, Visage is very uncommon here. I hope to see some very good uses out of him from Kaipi.
Wait, doesn't Aoi play him as a one row in that trialing? He farms with it.
I haven't seen it that much. I've only seen it a couple times, and it was way too that was playing. Have you watched many of Kaipi matches recently? I haven't seen them since their new roster change.
No, I haven't seen them either. And of course, with all the RTZ, for TI4 hype, I was hoping that he will be playing today, so we'll see a glimpse of him. But unfortunately, he's not here. So I guess we'll have to wait. But I haven't seen him play. So, but I've heard that they did win the ISO Cup at least yesterday. So at least they're doing okay.
Yeah, a lot of teams or a lot of people have just been questioning their place because they weren't actually invited to the Western qualifiers at all, and many people just view that as a slap in the face to Kaipi, whether it just be to RTZ not really proving himself yet because he's still a relatively new player on the scene, whether it is due to their instability with Eternal Envy recently coming in and now Come With Me and RTZ, but whatever the case is, they were not invited into the Western qualifier, and this did cause quite the hubbub in the Western scene.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to unleash that Pandora box of debate again here, but hey, there's nothing actually going on, so.
Yep. And let's see, Mouse has again they performed fairly strongly in the Cursed Invitational this weekend, taking out their winning in the first round 2-0 and dropping 2 games versus Liquid, but still managing to take one off them. They were the only team in the tournament to take 1 game off a TI3 direct invitee, so kudos to them.
Yeah, I think this game we're gonna be, or at least my attention will be mostly focused on Mouse because that's a team that's invited to the qualifier, and hopefully we'll just see a glimpse of what they're made of. I think Mouse were definitely one of the favorites to actually exit out of the Western invite, at least not either winning the entire qualifier or getting a second slot. Of course, AG is going to be one of the heavy contender there as well. Both the West and Eastern invites are going to be quite a spectacular treat, and of course, GD Studio will be casting the Western qualifiers, and the Eastern qualifier will be handled by yours truly from the BTS. I do believe Merlini will be making a guest appearance there sometime. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Are we allowed to say that yet? I don't know.
I don't know. That's on you guys.
I'm about to get fired. I don't know. I'm not in charge either. I'm just.
Regardless, the Western qualifiers start exactly 1 week from now on May 13th, and again, that is hosted by GD Studio, as Lumi said. And another thing that is a little bit of a question mark is Cinderin, because Cinderin actually just recently entered the team. Alex was removed from Mouse, whether by his choice or by others. I don't think that's entirely certain, but regardless, Cinderin is now playing competitive Dota again after a hiatus, and I believe he has been relegated to the support role. I believe we saw him on Evoker quite a bit and in the solo mid role, but now he has switched roles to the support role. We saw him play couple of Windrunner games over the weekend, landing some nice shackles, so I don't think he has much to prove there because he's been around the scene for quite a while, even if he hasn't been actually playing competitive Dota recently.
Yeah, I really wanted to ask you that. Merlini, you've been around the block for a while. You're considered a old-time veteran here as a pro Dota player. How is it once you take a, I don't know, 2-3 week break, or maybe for Cinderin's case, a lot longer of a break? How is it jumping right back into a competitive match? Are you a little bit rusty? Are you a little bit, maybe you don't make the best decisions? What exactly is the deal when you come back from taking an extended break?
It really depends on 2 things, and one of them I would say is the lineup that you play with. And if it's people that you're uncomfortable with, it's going to take quite a while for you to mesh in with any team, and that's just for any competitive player, not only one that's taken a hiatus. And the second one is how much the game has shifted since he's left. And I would say the game actually hasn't shifted too much in, let's say, the past like 4 to 5 months. We see Bat still constantly banned out or picked, and he's just a constant threat. Nyx is still a top tier pick, although he has fallen from the ranks, and the ever so popular with CK. So the game and strategy has shifted ever so slightly. I wouldn't say that there's huge strategy and strategic play differences. People still do 3-1-1 all the time. People still run Magnus a lot. TA is still seen, and I would say just Lifesteal has been a lot more popular. But again, not too many differences in the ways of competitive Dota. And as long as that hasn't changed too much since Cinderin left, I think it will be relatively easy for him to slip back into the groove of things. His fundamentals are pretty sound, and as long as you have those and you're a decent player overall, you can quickly adapt to the changing situation that is competitive Dota.
Yeah, I mean, at least his team is trusting him very much, so putting him on the drafting slot, although I'm not exactly sure whether he's doing 100% of the draft, but he's at least clicking on the heroes. I'm not sure how much that means, but it's all good. And of course, for anybody that's joining us, we're waiting for Cinderin to come back. He did have connectivity issues for the past couple of times, and I think it took him about 10-15 minutes to resolve them. It has really been, it felt like 10-15 minutes. So hopefully he's back soon.
I am slightly sad to see Kuroki go. I thought Mouz had a very, very strong lineup with Kuroki, and now that we've seen Kuroki switch to Na'Vi,
Got poached.
Like, yeah, he got poached, and there's just even more powerhouse teams in the Western scene, which makes for a little bit less competition. But overall, it is stronger for Na'Vi, and I believe it will increase their chances of winning the TI3.
I mean,
Or TI3
Na'Vi
rather than DTI3.
Na'Vi hasn't been actually doing that well lately, despite, Funnick and Kuroki joining, so I'm not sure whether the whole roster switch has really worked towards their favor. In terms on paper, in terms of star power, yeah, it's all there, but results hasn't really been favorable because I think, well, we'll talk about that later because the game has finally unpaused, so we quickly reintroduce the players. So we have Fata playing the Temper Assassin, going to be going Black, going to be playing the One-Row Lifestealer. We have Cinderin playing the Support Nyx Assassin, Koifa on the Windrunner, and Pos on the Support Rubik.
And I guess I'll reintroduce Kaipi's line. We have Eternal Envy. It looks like there's 5-man heading top, so it might be a triple lane versus triple lane there. So Eternal Envy on the anti-mage, Bone 7 on Razor, Garter as a stand-in for Arteezy on the Magnus, most likely solo middle with his Tango triple branch build, Pylai Dai on the support bane, and Come With Me on the Visage.
It looks like they're going to foray into the enemy jungle, most likely set down a couple of wards, and this should be an indication that they're going to be going offensive trialing, as there's really little other options you can do. You can see that anti-mage is a little bit pulled here, got himself a poor man shield, and got pulled a couple of tangos and cells, and Paladai looking to drop off a couple of wards. Generally on these early game foray, you want to drop off your wards, but you want to do it outside of enemy vision, because they get quickly countered if that's not the case. As you can see, Cinderin does have 2 sentry. And Kaipi is just storming, and there's really nothing much that Mousebrook could do about it. And yeah, Cinderin just going back and forth, says, "We see ya," and Kaipi says, "Yeah, we see you too." And this is something that we see Kaipi do a lot, which is upgrading the courier immediately and then using it to actually block off neutral camps. We've seen them do it, I want to say, since the G1 qualifiers as well. So, well, let's see exactly what camp they're going to be using it to block. I imagine it's going to be the standard pull camp.
Yeah, we have seen teams use sentry wards to block the spawn too, because you really want those observer wards for vision, perhaps in the lane or on the rune. And with the observer ward slot quite limited early game, they really want to make good use of them. And I am surprised to see this Magic Immune Flying Courier up there this early. Again, I haven't seen Kaipi play too much recently, but as you said, it looks like they are going to be using it to block the spawn. There's only two people in top lane for Mouse. Looks like they are doing a very untraditional 2-1-2.
Yeah, and actually it's going to work out just fine with them. You expected a trial lane just completely dodging. Kaipi's trialing and then go down to shut down Eternal Envy. But in terms of this particular lane, Black is going to shut down Eternal Envy with the help of Pos. And the top duel lane here should be okay as well. They're going to have a little bit issue. I love this adjustment here. They know that they're not going to kill the Windrunner a lot, so they're going to just throw Enfeeble on top of her and make sure that she's going to have a very, very tough time last hitting. And Bone should be having a basically easy time here, outlasting the Windrunner.
Yep, so it looks like pretty much sort of a 1v1 on top, both of these support heroes harassing each other, but Koifa will get static linked by Bone.
Static link Enfeeble? You're never going to have any kind of right-click damage. That's going to be somewhat tough. Meanwhile, DC Nyx Assassin going to take off Mana Burn at level 1 as well. A very, very smart choice. Knowing that they're not going to really go on you, and having the Mana Burn to take away all of Bane's mana is the correct respawn. So, but actually back to the lane that we were kind of sort of talking about early on, which is Magnus versus TA on the mid lane. TA, as expected, is going to have the advantage. He is leading in terms of CS by quite a bit as well, so... Well, Garter having a little bit of issues. He does have his bottle, and he really needs to bottle crow as soon as possible. And I guess the quote-unquote advantage of having an instant upgraded bottle, or instant upgraded courier, is that, well, he has the bottle crow right now.
And we have seen Come With Me actually rotate down bottom and engaging in some creep pool. This is going to be a pretty passive early game. Again, these two supports, one guy mana burning, one guy mana burning the Bane, and then the Bane just enfeebling. It's going to be pretty passive and just a last hit war. I doubt we'll see many kills. Bone, 56 damage on a static link, and Runner sitting at a whopping 2 damage. But in terms of last hits, TA still sitting on top with 11. Not quite double Magnus's, but he was there before.
Yeah, and well, I mean, again, oh my goodness, I think you missed that one too. I saw your cursor going to the bot lane instantly. And turn out if you're actually able to sneak up a kill. Tower doing some work though, so it's a 2-for-1 trade at the end of the day with Mouseboard getting a first blood. I'm surprised that Come With Me got so caught up in position such that he got initiated on and got killed. So sorry for missing that early game action, but Black at the end of the day, very far ahead. A little bit of Orb of Venom being picked up here. Not something that we see too common here on Lifestealer, but it makes complete sense. Once you open wounds and once you get a couple of right clicks on, it is so hard to run away from that Lifestealer.
Yeah, and I did not expect any sort of kills in the bottom lane. Usually, especially with an anti-mage lane, it's just extremely passive. Not that Come With Me can't really do anything. He does have a level 1 Grave Chill as opposed to level 1 Soul Assumption, which we see quite often. But again, there won't be that much damage flying around just because Eternal Envy on anti-mage is a really passive hero. Looks like Come With Me will give him his tangos. He is already out, but his early game farm is not looking good at all for this anti-mage. Only seen at 5 last hits. He has opted for a boots first build along with a poor man shield, so it looks like we won't be seeing that Battle Fury anytime soon.
Yeah, and I don't think the lane here opposing to them will loft their offense anytime soon either. Of course, with the first blood on Lifestealer, he already has a face boost, so not only is it going to give him a lot of easier last hit, but more importantly, he's going to harass the hell out of that anti-mage. Look at him phasing in, stealing the creeps as well, and here comes the anti-mage trying to burn a little bit of Black's mana. Speaking of Black, he's actually opted for a little bit different of a build. Maxing Feast, generally something that we don't see too often, but against the anti-mage is a very, very smart adjustment. Envy gets picked up, he got to blink away, he will blink away, and now they're going to focus on Pos. Pos should be okay as well. And look at that phase boost. Doing so much work. 3 hit and Come With Me down to about half HP. Is he going to chase through? No, he will not. And you see the combination of that poor man, or not poor man shield, the Orb of Venom and phase boost doing so much work. And they got to just back off 2 hero versus 2. Eternal Envy's team is losing right now.
I'm really glad to see Black playing very aggressively in this lane. Usually we just see Black take the back roll and just sit back and play passive, but with a hero like Lifestealer, he does have the potential to play very aggressively, and I like seeing this aggression out of Black.
Yeah, and so far it's actually working quite well as he's actually leading the farm chart here, one of the highest farming hero in the entire game, and still putting on the necessary aggression as well. Meanwhile, we do see the support Bane Elemental in the fountain. Let's see if he's going to be making the full rotation to the bot lane. No, he's going to go all the way back up top. I guess it's not bad. You don't want that Windrunner to get farm as well, but he's actually doing quite alright. 14 CS. Really half of that bones, but still, you know, he's getting the necessary amount despite the fact that there's Static Link and Feeble being thrown at him all the time. So I think for the most part, Mouseboard's, in my opinion, winning all 3 lanes.
Yeah, I think they're doing very well in this early game. Black going very aggressively on Come With Me here.
Come With Me, gonna be buying a magic stick. Maybe he's gonna buy a teleport scroll as well. He knows he's gonna be dead, even though there's no mana coming from Black. The face boot just doing so much. There's an early TP coming from the Magnus. Magnus comes in. He does have RP, but there's just no way you're gonna catch up to Black with that face boot. So that's RP 130, or not RP. The TP scroll 135 down the drain as well. Meanwhile, on the top lane here, Cinnamon gets picked off. So a little bit of reprise up on the top lane. They really needed that. Are they gonna die for him? They did not have Nightmare. Very, very kind of strange early game build from Paladai. Brain Sap.
Yeah, usually we do see the Nightmare to synergize well with that Static Link, but again, I think he is going to be very, very pressed for mana, especially against his support Nyx.
Yeah, he's not going to have time to do too much here. Meanwhile, Black looks like he's going to get a little bit of Grave Shield, but he's just going to just phase out of there. So I feel like the early first blood here on the Lifestealer really is throwing a monkey wrench in Kaipi's plan. They can't do too much about anything because of their early phase boot. One of the smartest items being picked up. Did I see Infest being used on the bot lane? He doesn't really care about dying too much. He knows he's not going to die. He just wants to stay in a lane as long as possible. And of course, by staying in lane, Eternal Envy is not going to be having the good farm. Back in the mid lane, how are we doing there, Merlini?
Excuse me for a second. I think Black needs to pick up a magic stick on a side note, but in mid lane, 33 last hits for TA. We see Magnus just completely waste his time on the bottom lane. Like, even if he did save a Visage, is it really worth his time to use a TP scroll and go down there in order to maybe save a support hero from death, because I doubt he's gonna kill the Nakes. Nakes is just super farmed at this point. Again, picking up another kill on the Visage, but looks like Pos may go down to Eternal Envy.
Oh, Eternal Envy getting juked by the Fog, and here comes a trap as well. That's the TA coming in, and there is Blink coming down in 1 second. He should be making out just fine, but they could keep diving. They have another trap. It looks like that's exactly what they're gonna do. Another teleportation comes in. That's gonna be from the Bane Elemental. No, that's gonna be from Devices. Envy does have Blink in 3 seconds. He should be fine. So like both teams utilizing very good jukes. Here comes Bones as well, but I do believe again the lifestealer with the phase boot, he's gonna make it out there just fine. Now they're gonna go on Fata. Fata should be fine as well, throwing a trap. He has Mill, he has Refraction. Meanwhile though, with the Bane Elemental, or with everybody leaving the top lane, Bane Elemental got picked off by Quite Fuzz. So Mouseport, the rotation is better, their lanes are better, and like I said, if they snowball control in the early game, that's exactly what they need to do in terms of winning this game. Because once the mid and late game comes, Kaipi should have the big advantage. But right now, if you look at Eternal Envy, he's got no farm. If you look at Magnus, he's severely behind. And Bones, sure, he's doing okay in the lane, but what do you really expect out of a Razor?
Yeah, again, I really have to question the Visage pick here. He's just not doing anything early game. What's he going to win a super farm Nakes, again, with the early First Blood, Phase Boots, Orb of Venom? He's just going to kill supports all day long, and that's exactly what he's been doing. Look at Come With Me. He just has a Magic Stick and Iron Branch. He probably is going to continue to die quite a lot in this game, and I'm fearful for his life.
And the open wounds, Rage, right hit. Any support TP coming through? Nope. He's gonna go down eventually, and that's yet another kill for Black. Black dominating. So I just want to reiterate what you said. I love to see Black playing so aggressive. I love to
skewer middle.
Skewer middle, and he hit it, and it looks like Fata may be a little bit trouble. But he doesn't melt, and you need to pop his regen and refract. Yeah, he's gonna be fine there. So you gotta be careful, Garter. Out of mana, and Fata full of it. Thanks to that regen.
Yeah, nice play by Fata there, able to survive the solo RP. But again, for example, a hero like Darkseer, if a Nyx goes on you, all you do is surge and run away. And if you have, for example, a Rubik who tries to mess with you and use telekinesis during the surge, you just get level 2 surge, no problem. And again, Come With Me is probably going to continue to feed. He is too weak at this point to even TP out from a Nyx open wounds, most likely, and that's usually how we see supports run away from them. And he can't really do anything by himself. He's not even close. He's not that close to level 6. It is 10 minutes in, and once this Nyx hits level 6, which actually looks to be quite a long time coming, he's going to be in even more danger.
Yeah, I can't really fault Come With Me. I think it's really a byproduct of how the lane's really shaped up to be. He's really much a fairly purely offensive trialing hero, and that's obviously not happened this game. So he's playing, I guess, second fiddle as a support to the anti-mage, and really wasn't able to support him too much. Meanwhile, a little bit of pressure on the bot lane. You can see Pilotai hiding under the trees here to get a couple of EXP. He shouldn't die as easily because he does have Nightmare, although what is Nightmare going to do against a 6-second rage if he does pop it off? Black roaming through the jungle. Looks like he is looking to pick up a couple of free CS there. And Anti-Mage, he roamed to the mid lane. Now going into the bot lane. He's looking for CS anywhere, but he's not finding it.
Yep, and looks like he's going to go early Trez, just really going for the early survivability build just because of his not too great start. And I think this is a very good heads-up play from Mouz, doing a 2-1-2, very uncommon lane, but worked out very well for them.
Black chasing the courier. Black's gonna find the courier. Really poor micro coming out from Kaipi. That's 175 times 5. War from Mountain go for the entire team. And here comes Black. Is he gonna open wounds? No, it's gonna turn back. Driving the enemy away is all he really wants, and they're gonna get the tier 1 tower. So this goal graph definitely not favoring Kaipi at all, and Mouseport looking to snowball. You talked about early Blink Dagger for the Templar Assassin to set up those Infest Bombs. He does have 1k go in the bank. Let's see if he's going to be going for that, or he's going to be going for somebody more, I guess, the cooler new kid on the street kind of build, the drums, the Yasha. We'll see exactly what he's going to be going for, but so far Mouse in a dominating position.
We see Black already finishes Drums of Endurance, so very rich Nakes here, and he has 5,100 net worth, 1,200 ahead of the next person, who is TA, and third place on net worth is also from Team Mouse, and it looks like Fata is going to stake in some hits on this tower with a DD and just pressuring Anti-Mage wherever he tries to go and farm.
So, I mean, right now it's safe to say that Kaipi is having a very, very tough time as we see a little bit more initiation on the bot lane. Garter, is he gonna... He does drop his RP. Does Paz have level 6? Not just yet. Skewer backwards here. Garter's gonna be dead for sure. And here comes Bone, though. He does have the drain here on Black, but again, they're just so quick. Gonna focus on Synderen. I think they're happy to give away Synderen for that one kill as well, especially with the RP being used as well. They're not gonna chase down Black, or at least I think Black should be fine. And yep, that's another kill going towards the direction of Mouseport. But like I was saying earlier, exactly what can Kaipi do in this position? I mean, again, Merlini, you've been playing Dota for a long time. You've definitely been down in those games with MY and back then. How do you actually kind of stage a comeback? Do you prey on enemy mistakes, or do you hope to play better? What exactly is the deal, especially in this Kaipi position where they're down EXP, they're down gold, they're down items? How do you make that comeback?
Firstly, they need to get level 6 on their supports. Come With Me has finally hit level 6, so him with those gargoyles is going to be able to make a much bigger contribution to the game than previously, where he was pretty much just feeding the nakes. Pylai is level 5.5, and they really need this Fiend script to try and look to make some early game kills. But as you were talking about earlier, Mouse does have a weaker team fight, so again, one big RP into a very nice Mana Void, perhaps on the Nyx Assassin or the Windrunner, could be very devastating for Mouse, and Kaipi really needs to try and create those opportunities to try and mitigate this very poor early game coming out from them. And we see Synderen already Vendetta middle looking for blood.
Well, the level 1 Vendetta for Kaipi's sake is very, very short duration, so if they dodge it for a couple of more seconds, they should be fine. Come with me, some Spidey sense. Oh no, he wants to farm this camp, and this camp will be the last thing he sees. Here comes the Impale, the trap's gonna be on top. Monoburn doing a significant amount of damage. Well, I asked whether it's going to be a blink, and we see the blink right there. Blink, Maelstrike, 40 for the kill, and Fata now pulling even further ahead. Yes, we need that big RP, but unfortunately Garter not close to his own blink dagger. Back in the mid lane, though, looks like they blink in with the stolen blink from Eternal Envy. Eternal Envy looking to run away, but it is so hard to run with multiple blinks. He's saving that blink, and we'll be using to get out just fine there.
One thing that is really devastating for Kaipi right now is losing these T1 towers. Usually people don't care about T1 tower that much. Our Bone is just static linking Black. Didn't want to miss any action right there. But one thing that's really devastating is losing these T1 towers. It just means that they can't really sentry anywhere. If this mid tower were still up, they could just sentry in the very middle, right in between these two TA traps in the very middle of the map. And they could also sentry near the T1 tower on bottom, and you're pretty much safe from most ganks as long as your top lane's playing very passively, as Garter is right now. And then you see these sentry wards. They have one close to the bottom rune and one in their jungle, but again, there's just so much area that Synderen can move to.
Yeah, he just bypassed the sentry ward there. Yeah, not having those T1 tower to provide a sentry coverage, the ward coverage, as well as not having those T1 tower to TP to is really hurting them. Tier 1 is going to get denied up top. And I don't think Mouseport care too much about that deny. They really care more about the map being more open up for that Templar Assassin as well as for the Nyx Assassin to really get their gank going on. Back in the bot lane here, they're going to focus there on Bone 7. I think Bone 7 should be fine. As I say that though, he's going to pop his ultimate, he's going to drain, he's linking away, he's popping the magic wand, but Infest from Black using that AoE magical damage to really seal the deal. Back on the top lane though, Fiend Script being used, they really want the kill on the Fata. Mana Void being blocked, Maelstrike turning around here, and the gank is turning around. Koifa is doing a little bit more damage. They still want Fata, they are finally going to bring him off. Still going on Koifa as well, the burst coming in. But I gotta say, that refraction doing a ton of work, blocking a couple ultimate damage. A teleport comes in right now, and Koifa out of mana to drop his shackle shot. But that's okay, come with me, it's on the run. But here comes Black, open wounds, rage coming right in. There's no Fiend Script, body blocking attempt here, and Paladin might go down as well. He really wants to use his Nightmare, he does drop it off, but Koifa picks up the kill. And this is not going well. Those birds are going to go down as well. Man, Go just going towards Kaipi, or going away from Kaipi. Bone 7 gets lifted. Rage, right click here against Bone 7. Bone 7's going to be dead as well, I think. Yes, Shockwave being stolen, Shockwave being used. And that's what, 6-7 kills happening on the top lane here for Mouseport. Game is not going well.
Yeah, and a lot of actually sloppy play there. Eternal Envy pretty much just got a second breath by the Windrunner missing a shackle, and just blinking in on a TA that's already this far ahead is just instant death for him. Ooh, and it looks like Magnus just drop again to a Vendetta gank.
Yeah, I got that one mid lane. Vendetta set it up, and then Blink Dagger followed through. We talked about the lack of tier 1 tower to protect them, and right now these tier 2 towers are going down as well. Kaipi very far away from any kind of big necessary core items. You can see drums is up on Razor, which is a nice pickup for kind of the early game phase, but really at this stage of the game, he needs whatever his next set of big item is. And like you said, you know, Razor always being Dairycraft as a very, very popular and strong hero. And I think going back to the Dairycraft bin, you'll go, because this game, I don't think he's picked to do this, which is feed. And Envy's going to be linked out in the bot lane.
Yeah, it's just because of the smart laning from Mouz. They really didn't shut down any of his early game at all. They did not have Bane down there, nor did they have Razor. Both of them were in top lane, and I'm very surprised to see that it was Come With Me that was the one that rotated bottom, not any of the supports that can actually shut down Nake's early game. And we see a smoke rotation from these three heroes trying to back up Eternal Envy again, trying to find him some farm. Synderen is over here with Invis. Looks like he may or may not pop the smoke.
Oh, smoke just got popped, and, well, do they have dust ready? I'm not too sure if that they do. No, nobody has detection. Well, Synderen says, alright, smoke is popped. I'm going to back out just fine. Envy says, alright, I'm going to take this a chance to get a little bit farm as well. Impel trying to be really sneaky. I think that just gave away the information that there is a trap nearby. I don't think that Mouseport really cares either way, though. But for now, is there any chance that Anti-Mage gets somehow up to his Battle Fury? As we see, Fabit just picks up the Aegis for his team. Any chance that Anti-Mage gets up to his Battle Fury and Kaipi plays some Expert Turtle for the next 10-15 minutes, and hopefully Kaipi could go for a late game win, or is Mouseport going to just snowball and take territory and just go for Raxus?
I think that...
Oh my god. Yeah, he's dead. Unless there's a grip for him. Nope, no grip is going to be used, and that drain doesn't take away all the damage instantly, and looks like Black able to shut him down. But you're about to drop some knowledge bombs.
I think it really depends on whether or not this Blink can get, or this Magnus can get a Blink before they push the T3 towers. He's sitting at 1130 gold right now, and really RP is the only thing that's going to save them from them losing their T3 and then subsequently a Rax, especially with Eternal Envy dying yet again. He is 1-3-1, and he is very, very far away from his Battle Fury. It's 18 minutes in. All he has is Trez, Poor Man's Shield, and a Ring of Pelt, and we see a Shackle fly out. Wow, Koifa.
Yeah, Koifa, he's dead, and looks like, oh, there's an RP gonna be used, but here's the issue. Where the hell is the follow-up damage? I talked about earlier, this team does not have the AoE necessary. Garter dropped the RP, but he's done. Meanwhile, it looks like the entire enemy team is into the Kaipi base. Kaipi, Paladite, well, nice actually brain sap. He's gonna survive just a little bit longer. Nice self-nightmare as well. Cancels the self-nightmare, but Black says, alright, I'll just hit you afterwards. And I think this game is all but over right now, because Come With Me, he gets focused, he's out of mana, he gets burst down as well. 5-19 to score, and I think GG's going to come out any second. Paladite drops a GG, and we're going to go to game 2. Mouseport flexing their muscles right now. Smart laning, smart adjustments, and really Kaipi maybe missed the beat a little bit here, and they never really got the chance to come back.
Yeah, and here is why we see Nyx as a first tier pick and not Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage, he used to be a first tier pick when they could just split push with Furion, but the way the game has evolved is just if you lose the early mid game, you're most likely not even going to get to late game. And Mal's just playing very, very well this early game, shutting down the Anti-Mage at all stages of the early mid game, and really Eternal Envy just unable to find farm anywhere. And Magnus got a couple of good RPs, but as you said before, no follow-up. What are you going to do with a Razor? Just, I mean, Plasma Field, whoop-de-doo, and then a couple of Visor Stuns, but that's really nothing. There's no Macro Pyre, Dual Breath, Ice Bath from THD, or a Disruptor combo. They didn't really have anything to follow up, especially with Anti-Mage not getting any sort of farm, so well played by Mouz there.
Yeah, and Kaipi have to go back to the drawing board. They're down one game, and this is the best of 3 series. And hopefully they will make a better show in the next particular game. We're from Beyond the Summit. He's Merlini. I am Luminous. We'll be back for game 2. Thank you guys for your patience. I know we had a slow start this morning, but the games should be on their way. And hope you guys are enjoying the broadcast so far. We'll be back very, very soon, so don't go anywhere, guys.